Mr. President, tomorrow, at the dinner, we will be serving some Kenyan tea that looks like French wine.
And I'm pleased to come back on Nairobi 7 years after my first trip, my first official visit in your country, and it was the first visit ever of a French president. And which was honestly completely crazy to imagine. But the past 7 years have been quite a journey, I have to say. We did a lot together, and we increased our relationships from bilateral point of view, but as well we increased our intimacy. And we always appreciated your commitment to African and global issues. And this is why we decided to have this African Forward Summit being organized here in Nairobi, and thank you very much for that.
He was chased out by the three Sahel brothers, but he found his way back to another African country, from one African country to another. I mean, isn't he just shameless? Well, presidents of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger chased him out, but then he found his way to Kenya, deployed soldiers to Kenya in a bid to help them fight against insecurity. And then we're looking at the patterns, because we've seen what this guy has done in the past. He has done so much for us to believe that this is just plain without something hidden, without a hidden agenda. And now President William Ruto actually sees him as a brother. I mean, you left all African leaders and countries and brothers you could find in Africa. You chose to affiliate yourself with the president of France, Macron, who has a track record of exploiting Africa. Now, guess what, family? He was invited by William Ruto. William Ruto invited President Macron to the African Forward Summit that held in Kenya from the 11th to 12th of May this month, 2026. Family, it has been from one story to another, because Macron just chose to show himself wherever he finds himself. Unfortunately. And then what he did got people talking, got Africans talking, because he has never done that in any European Union summit or whatsoever summits held by these Westerners. But then he comes to Africa and he does this. Let's watch the video.
So then.
Already? You're not waiting your turn.
I will make order. Excuse me, everybody. Hey! I'm sorry, guys, but it's impossible to speak about culture, to have people like that, super inspired, coming here, making a speech with such a noise. So this is a total lack of respect. So I suggest, if you want to have bilaterals or speak about somebody else, something else, you have bilateral rooms or you go outside. If you want to stay here, we listen to the people. And we play in the same game. Okay? Thank you.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is called...
Now, family, let's give a context to this story. On the request of President William Ruto, Emmanuel Macron visited Kenya for the African Forward Summit that held on the 11th to 12th of May 2026. He wasn't just invited to speak. Now, another thing he was invited to do was, let me read it to you, family. One was announced $27 billion investment, rebrand France engagements as a partnership of equals rather than through traditional colonial ties. So William Ruto unfortunately sees Emmanuel Macron as his brother, colleague, and he wants to rebrand France-Kenya partnership. He wants us, as the spectators in all this, to see the relationship between them as equal. So it's no longer the traditional colonial ties where France is above Kenya or any African country. It's now a relationship that is mutual. Not France coming to impose themselves or trying to take what belongs to Kenya or this African country. It's now equal partnership. That is what Emmanuel Macron and Ruto want to achieve. But family, with the track record, is that possible? And during this summit, Emmanuel Macron Emmanuel Macron stood up to address the crowd. Actually, Africans see it as an abuse of power, not just that, as an insult. He stood up during a panel discussion to shut the crowd up. Either you go home or you stay here and you keep quiet. So, according to him, the crowd was noisy. So during the panel discussion on culture and entrepreneurship, we had these entrepreneurs on stage talking passionately about their ideas. But guess what Emmanuel Macron did at that point in time? He stood up, went on stage, took the mic to address the crowd. He scolded them for being noisy. Now we're going to address that, family, but look at this. In that video, the woman actually raised her hand to say, "It's not your turn, not yet." But he didn't care. He took the mic to address the crowd. Has he ever done this in any European Union summit or Western summit? No, he hasn't. But then he does that in Kenya. That's what triggered the public to react, because how dare he? He couldn't come through the moderator of the event, speak to any of the panelists or anyone that could control the crowd. He had to stand up himself to address the people. Mind you, this same Macron has the track record of behaving anyhow when it comes to African countries. And then he stands up to do that. Emmanuel Macron stands on his feet, goes upstage to scold the crowd. Indirectly say, "Shut up or go home." Now, family, do you think he did it the right way? Was he supposed to stand up? I mean, the crowd was noisy, right? He came for the African Forward Summit. And we're going to... Because why do we want to talk about our African countries? Why do we want to talk about our country? Nairobi, Kenya. In Nairobi, Kenya. And then we invite Macron. Why invite Macron to a summit that saw different entrepreneurs talk about the experience and innovative ideas on how to move Kenya forward? Why do we invite Macron to that kind of event? Why did Ruto invite him? Was that a good platform for Macron to come talk about equal partnership or the $27 billion deal? Family, what do you have to say about this story? Do you think that was a right platform for Macron to do that? And I must say this, that it's kind of shameful that we have to invite Macron as Africans to our own summit. Have you ever seen the European Union invite Africans to their own summits? Now we're talking about these 5 nations that hold power, invite African countries to come sit. Mind you, even in the UN, Africa doesn't hold power. So what concerns Macron with our own business? That's what is getting people pissed. I mean, why should you invite Macron? Why is Macron in Kenya? Do you know he went to Kenya, deployed his soldiers after he was chased out by the Sahel brothers? He had nowhere to go, but he wanted to make sure he still existed within the continent of Africa. So he found Ruto a very good mate to befriend. And then it's so shameful to then invite him to a summit that we're supposed to rub minds together. Now you discover that Africans leave African countries, go outside and they're excelling. That's because in our own countries, they do not give the platform. You have to fight for that platform. Outside there are equal opportunities. I know would say that there is, what's it called now? There is racism, preferential treatment. But then again, the system outside is somewhat fair on those who are good enough to prove themselves. But then look at African countries. It's either it's laced with corruption, you have good ideas, you are not even attended to, you're not funded. And then for those funded, some just waste it. But then again, family, was that a good platform to invite Macron? How do you think this is going to end? Because this relationship between Macron and Kenya, with what we've seen in the past, I doubt it's going to end well. Now let's talk about what he said. Yes, it was noisy. Someone needed to moderate the crowd, talk to them to stop being noisy. But did it have to be Macron? Did he have to stand up? Well, so many questions, family. What do you have to say about this story? Do you think he was right or not? Do you think that platform was for him to stand up, come talk about equal partnership? I mean, African Forward Summit for young entrepreneurs? for him to come talk about their partnership in that kind of summit. What's your take on this story? Comment your thoughts and do not forget to share, like, subscribe, and turn on your notification button. And for more commentaries, download the Africa Diaspora News Channel app. Thank you for watching. My name is Lynient Akotonou.